Hello, my name is Cindi Smith. I'm the Vice President of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion and Client Engagement. I wear several different hats within my company. I head up our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion practice, which is fairly new within my company. And I also, on the client side, am responsible for business development. I would say that this leadership masterclass contributed greatly to my personal growth as a leader, because I say my current role is a direct result of me taking this class. I was offered a leadership role, and I knew that it was a role that no one else wanted, and it was a role that I had done before, and I wasn't sure that I wanted to go back into that role because I was comfortable. But what I learned in this class is that I need to, number one, recognize what my potential is, see what my potential is, take action, and then leverage it. And I certainly did that. I wouldn't have had the confidence or the desire to do it if I had not taken the Leadership Masterclass. But it opened my eyes to who I was as an individual and who I was as a leader. And it has allowed me to really flourish in this position. And I'm very thankful that I did say yes. A few months into my new leadership role, things were a little rocky at the job. We were in a very busy period, and I work best when I'm busy. But the team that I had inherited was not so happy about the amount of work that was being put on them. And I was taking my experiences and trying to force it upon them in terms of my work ethic. And before I knew it, I found myself in a meeting with the chief HR and the COO. And it was a very interesting conversation. And I think prior to taking the Leadership Masterclass, I would have responded very differently to the meeting that we had. But instead of countering everything that was said, I learned to listen. And I think one of the things in the class, they said you listen 90% of the time and talk 10% of the time. And I felt that helped me navigate this situation beautifully, because I listened to what was being said instead of listening to what I thought they were saying. And it gave me a chance to stop and think and digest it and then respond accordingly. And the situation did resolve itself, but I feel that if I had not taken the Leadership Masterclass, the outcome would have been very, very differently. And I learned that the powers of persuasion and listening really helped me in this situation. Prior to coming into the class, and actually while I was taking the class, I was in the role as an individual contributor, and I was quite comfortable in that role. I was achieving the desired results, but I also liked flying just a little bit under the radar. And one of the key things that I learned from this leadership class was that in order to advance, I was going to need to get out of my comfort zone and take on more of a leadership role if I really wanted to take it to the next level. So from there, I learned that I needed to, first of all, understand what was my leadership style and how that impacted my team, and also learning the leadership style of my direct manager, because we were working in tandem. And then by learning what our individual leadership styles were and where we could help each other, we were able to apply these skills and help the team achieve the desired results. Throughout the class, the principles of partnership and collaboration were addressed again and again, and I found myself constantly writing down those two words, partnership and collaboration. And part of the reason that I did that was because I was coming from a world where the last few years I had been an individual contributor working across teams, and I really only had to be accountable to myself or whoever was leading this specific project that I was working on. So What I needed to do was let the team know that not only was I coming in to lead this team that had been without a leader for quite a while, but I was also there to partner with them and help this team overcome some of the challenges that they were facing and reach new heights in terms of revenue and client satisfaction. This particular team was really how the company started. It was the bread and butter of the company 40 years ago, but now has kind of been off to the side, almost treated like, the stepchildren that weren't always invited to the party. So I needed to also bring in other resources and get their buy-in, and then also get the team's buy-in that these other stakeholders and other teams could help us achieve our goals. Because this particular team was kind of used to doing it all by themselves. And I also let them know that I would roll up my sleeves and get in the trenches with them, but I also wanted to build the trust in this team that they could do it on their own as long as we had a North Star to guide us. And I found that that was the one thing that was lacking with this particular team. There were a lot of challenges and conflicts and things to manage because I was coming into a blended team. I was not the only leader on this team. There were two other leaders that also had a lot of input, and we were combining operations with business development. So that was the first challenge in working with these leaders in terms of how they manage conflict versus how I manage conflict, and kind of coming to an agreement and meeting in the middle and relying on various management styles. That was one of the things that I learned, is that my way of doing things is not always the best way. And from taking the leadership profile, I learned that it was one of the lesser effective ways of managing teams. So I learned from the other leaders within the team. And then we worked together to kind of manage the climate as a whole, because it was a very unhealthy climate and there was a lot of skepticism. So I had to find a way to let the team know that I not only understood the serious issues that they were facing, but that I also took them seriously with some level of authority, but also not coming across as a know-it-all, in order to gain their buy-in, because I knew that they would have some very valuable insights that would help us get to this common goal.